Canada, we're on. I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland, where we talk about everything to do with Canadian sports, teams, players, leagues, anything that's Canadian. Aaron and I are fixated on it. So today, Friday. Oh boy, the weekend's coming up. So this might be Freaky Friday for us, Aaron. But let's start at the beginning. And the beginning is with the Raptors. Apparently the Bulls have a trading partner. Now, who might that be?
Well, the Chicago Bulls are kind of stuck in limbo right now. With a roster of somewhat talented players, but no true superstar. They're kind of a perennial play-in team with little to no aspirations of a deep playoff run. So it may be time for the team to move in a new direction, get rid of some salary, position themselves for a major trade that could shake up the franchise's fortunes, use a little bit of the R word or rebuild. Patrick Williams was Chicago's number 4th overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft. He could potentially be somebody they could use as a trade chip. Now he's got a $90 million contract on the books, but very little production on the other side to back up that price tag. The thinking is Chicago should try to do everything in their power to recoup assets for that. Enter the Raptors, a team with a similar conundrum to the Bulls. They have a handful of bloated contracts on their payroll, but the difference is they have much younger desirable players who certainly have the potential to turn into stars, like Barnes, Emmanuel Quickley, and RJ Barrett. Headlining that group is Brandon Ingram, who Toronto acquired mid-season last year from the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, Patrick Williams is going to be 24 at the start of the 25-26 NBA season. Fits in nicely with their timeline of youngsters who have a shot to develop into something special but need a little more seasoning. The Bulls could potentially get a first-round draft pick and RJ Barrett in exchange for Williams and Javon Carter. That's one of the trade proposals that's there. Chicago might be most likely attaching a first-round pick to the Williams deal to sweeten it, especially if we wanted to try to seal it with Barrett. Entering his 7th season, Barrett's one of those guys who steadily improved. Following his first full season with the Raptors, he averaged 21.1 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 5.0 assists per game on splits of 46% from the field and 35% from the three. He's got all-star potential. This would make sense for both Eastern Conference teams and would provide a fresh start for 2 young players who could probably use it.
Absolutely. The Raptors schedule, the 25-26 one, is out there for us to look at. There's a couple of games that you want to highlight.
Yeah. Now, the first game of the season is actually going to be on the road for them. This is going to be the first time that that's happened since 2011. That is, a big game for them. Their game 17th versus the Hornets is also going to be big. The Hornets kind of had an off season, though, so one of their first big tests is going to be against the Raps right off the hop. The next big test they're going to face after that is November 26th versus the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton won't be suiting up this season, but they also have Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, and Benedict Mathurin, who all have Canadian roots. So that's the second big game for them. Big East Coast rival as well is the Celtics. They're going to be playing them on December 7th. Now, this is kind of a gap year for the Celtics because they used the 2025 season to shed salary in the wake of Jason Tatum's Achilles injury to sort of pad everything out for themselves. Boston's also going to have 3 new members in its starting lineup, and while the team will still be talented, it's not necessarily going to be a juggernaut as it was in the past. The next barometric game for them is going to be December 23rd at Miami. Now, Miami found a way to make it as the 8th seed. This year should bring a little more stability for them. They added Norman Powell and have a full training camp to incorporate Andrew Wiggins. Now, they're not expected to be a class of the East, but it should improve. They should be improved over their last season's mark. Those are just a few of the games that they're looking forward to here. More importantly, the Raptors are going to have to make sure that they come up big on October 24th, which is their home opener against the Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're perennial perennial drawings and consistent playoff teams. And the other team that the Raptors will have to worry about earlier in the season is the Sixers. They're currently expected to be bottom half of the Eastern Conference, but this is one of those things where they're playing returns. So I want to be up there.
Actually, very important and good for the Raptors. Let's talk about Major League Baseball, and we'll start with the Cubs that beat the Jays, but they didn't win the series.
No, we spoke about their game on the Tuesday. That was the first game of the series. Toronto won that one. They unfortunately lost the rubber match. Michael Busch and Matt Shaw hit solo homers in a 4-1 victory over Toronto in front of 43,120 at Rogers Center. Gausman got tagged with the loss despite allowing just 3 hits and 2 earned runs over 7 innings. The idea was jump on his fastball early and often, swing more often than not at the first pitch because that's when he's going to be using it. Busch actually turned on a 3-1 offering in the third for his 23rd homer of the season, and Shaw followed 2 frames later with his 10th. Gausman's had at least 12 quality starts this season, and he was one of those players the Jays didn't necessarily know who they were going to be getting, and it's worked out to the better for them this time around. Now that's again that was on the Wednesday game. Now there was also some additional interest in the Bisons as well on Wednesday, mainly because Springer, Manoah, and Bieber are slowly working their way back with the team. They're all using the Bisons as a springboard in their eventual return to the majors. Manoah made his first rehab start in Buffalo on Wednesday for the Bisons, though it didn't really go that well for him. He recorded just 5 outs, yielding 3 runs on 2 hits while issuing 3 walks, hitting a batter, and recording 1 strikeout in a 9-4 loss to the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Manoah underwent UCL reconstruction on his right elbow last season after a 5-game return to the Bigs. His 30-day rehab clock start with a start in Dunedin on July 22nd. Springer was finally cleared on Wednesday by Major League Baseball to return to play after taking a pitch to the head on July 28th. So he'll be down in Buffalo very shortly. He might get a chance to DH for the Bisons and should be back in the Blue Jays lineup, if not at the start of this weekend, then by the end of it. So there's that to look forward to too.
Well, the Jays have been very good as far as bringing in pitchers. They've done a lot of their pitchers have worked out really well. It's been more of a success than a failure. So good for them. Vladdy comes in against the Cubs, another sold out. I think it was their 4th or 5th straight sellout. And he got a clutch hit for a 2-1 win.
Yeah, it was another sold out crowd. Scherzer outdueled Matt Boyd in a 2-1 Jays win. Kind of felt like a playoff game. Caught some of the highlights, and the crowd was definitely active and really, really into it. Scherzer looked really good through 7, despite giving up a solo homer to Michael Busch in the 6th for the game's first run. No question that 41-year-old is going to get a start once the postseason arrives, if not more than one. I'm reasonably certain they'll be able to make it out of the first round. Brendan Little worked around a wild pitch to record back-to-back strikeouts before Sir Anthony Dominguez came in to strike out cleanup partner Carson Kelly for the final out. Vladdy came up big with a 2-run shot, with the Jays down 1-0 in the 7th and held to just 1 hit over the course of the entire game. And that was a Tyler Heineman single in the 3rd. Schneider worked Boyd for a leadoff walk and was sacrificed to second by Ernie Clement, who continues his excellent play as of late. No home runs, but he's got the sack in there to get that up. Vladdy actually caught an off-speed 77-mile-an-hour curveball 400 feet into the center field seats, and that was the game-winning run. So there you have it. We managed to pull that out and win the series.
And the Cubs brought up a rookie they have. His first game in the big leagues is in Toronto, and he's from Burlington. Owen Cassie is his name. And his first time up at bat, he hit a ball hard. But unfortunately for him, there was a defender flying in the air to make the catch. What a great defensive play. What a way to lose a hit.
You know, of all the welcome to the majors moments, I think I would be the least upset by that. David Snyder just absolutely robbed him with a flying catch in the outfield. I swear to God, when I first saw this kid, I wasn't 100% sure if he wasn't wearing a wig. That is an awful lot of red hair that kid has.
Come on, don't make fun of redheads.
Oh, I'm not. I thought it was magnificent.
Yeah, it looked a little bit. He looked a little bit like I forgot his name, the character on The Simpsons.
Oh, Sideshow Bob.
Sideshow Bob. It looks a little bit like the hair looks like Sideshow Bob hair. Maybe that's not a nice thing to say either. So who am I to talk? Let's talk about the Jays making a move for another pitcher. This one, I don't know if it's a pitcher. Is it a pitcher? A Korean player.
Yeah, his name is Seo-Jun Moon. He's a senior at Jangchung High School. He's a 6'5" right-handed pitcher, and his fastball is supposedly in the mid-90s.
Teenager.
Teenager. You know, just still in high school. It's one of those things where I think they kind of have to make a move like this at a certain point, just because they need to try to see if they can keep advancing. And he is the top high school baseball prospect in Korea right now, according to Korean baseball insider Daniel Kim. Kid consistently throws in the high 80s. Now, I'm not 100% sure if they're really going to go well in on this. I know that the Jays have experimented with Korean players before. The most notable one was Hyunjin Ryu, who played with the Jays from 2020 to 2023. Before that, they had Seung-Hwan Oh on their roster, though he made more of an impact with the St. Louis Cardinals. It's rare that Korean high schoolers sign at this stage rather than first playing in the KBO. So this is a special opportunity for the Jays to get in on the ground floor of Moon's development, and they'll have a chance to grow a pitching star of their own in Toronto. So that's one of those things that they're definitely going to be keying on.
Absolutely. And he's a pitcher that pitches with speed. We talk about the Leafs. This is a Maple Leaf broadcast, Maple Leaf being Canadian teams. We talked for years, at least I talked for years, that they needed more physicality if they wanted to do well in the playoffs. The other thing for Toronto, and this time with the Jays, is they didn't have a lot of ball pitchers that threw really, really fast, really hard. They've changed their policy. They have so many plus 90, mid 90, even higher pitchers now, when in seasons past, I don't even think they had one. They might have had one. That's about it. So this is something every major league team looks for now, is real fast pitchers, pitch real heat. And the Korean kid can surely throw some heat, let me tell you. Let's talk about the Blue Jays and chasing a rare major league history. What history are they chasing, Aaron?
Well, for those of you who haven't blocked it from your memory, the Blue Jays finished the 2024 season dead last in the AL East. Given the prowess of the rest of their divisional foes, it would have been tough to see Toronto making a huge rebound this season, but here we are, middle of August, and the Jays are currently in first place. They had a huge turnaround, especially since late May when they were 8 games out of first. It's been a very special time in Toronto. If they keep it going, they can join a very short list in MLB history. Only 13 times in the divisional era has a team gone from worst to first in a season. The Blue Jays would be the 14th and the first team to do it since the 2015-2016 Boston Red Sox. Now, MLB did an in-depth breakdown of the situation. It turns out some of Toronto's leading contributors got a lot better this season. In particular, we're looking at the progression of Addison Barger, who's turned into a very competent fielder. Alejandro Kirk, who's worked a lot on his cutoff throws in the offseason and
he's lost some weight.
Yeah, he's lost a ton of weight. And the resurgence of George Springer. Those are 3 of the 8 most improved hitters in Major League Baseball from last season to this season by analytical stats. The Blue Jays also sent a lot of players out at last season's trade deadline, but the return for those guys haven't been crucial. Off-season acquisitions haven't really been the key either. The biggest of those, Anthony Santander, has been injured for most of the season. This is really, I think, a team that's sort of come into their own and started to believe in themselves, continue to improve, and have found just a little bit of swagger to their game. So there's still a lot of work to be done. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard to get bet against the Blue Jays right now.
Most important thing a franchise can do is get the best out of their players. And that's really what we're talking about here. It isn't about trades. It's about development and improvement. And the Jays have done that with a big portion of their players that are in the lineup today.
For sure. They've managed to make sure that they've gotten everything lined up exactly the way they need it to.
Week 11 started with the Blue Bombers and Red Blacks, and a continuation of Week 10. Comebacks were the order of the week last week. Well, this week started the same way.
Yeah, Ottawa had plenty to feel good about, especially after beating the Argos the week before. But it was the home team, Blue Bombers, who were able to get back to the winning ways, having lost 4 of their past 5. A huge comeback effort from Ottawa made things tense in the fourth quarter, but a field goal by Sergio Castillo gave Winnipeg a 30-27 victory at home. Khalil Pimpleton produced a game-tying touchdown with less than a minute remaining.
What a touchdown. Oh,
dude,
my God. Did you see
117 yards. My God.
And about 30 yards of it, 30, maybe even 40, was on the sideline.
That dude has unbelievable breakaway speed. And I'm glad that they were able to pick him up. But it was a 117-yard missed field goal return after the Red Blacks were forced into a late punt from their own 28. Zach Collaros was able to orchestrate a winning drive, which is capped off by Castillo's 47-yard kick. Collaros was 24 of 34, throwing for 298 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Nick Dembski was the standout receiver on the day, catching 6 for 128. Jareth Stearns caught Collaros' touchdown pass in the first quarter, with Streveler and Brady Oliveira running in the other Winnipeg majors. Unfortunately for the Red Blacks, Drew Brown left the game halfway through the third quarter, so Dustin Crum had to take over from there. Did you get any additional information as to what happened to Drew? I missed that.
Nope, I don't know. I haven't seen the injury report on him. I'm sure they're not going to say anything for a little bit. They're not sure. And because they got a game coming up next week, they'll keep it as dark as they can for as long as they can. So too bad about the injury. Great game, great run back. A lot of fun, I tell you, watching that game. Let's go to tennis and let's talk about Ogier Lassim, who lost to, I guess he lost to a sinner.
Yeah, and this sinner also happens to be top of the ATP board, so I'm not really all that surprised by that. Felix is ranked 28 in the ATP rankings. Yannick Sinner is ranked number 1. It was a mercifully short match. It only took an hour and 11 minutes. Sinner took it all 6-0, 6-2. Outserved him, outwon him on first points, had more aces, had way fewer double faults. I think a lot of what happened here, unfortunately, is with Aliassime playing in the NBO just the week prior, he kind of ran out of gas. Sinner took that tournament off for health reasons and to recover. Talk about game management. This is one of those things where for a lot of tennis players, unfortunately, the National Bank Open in Montreal and Toronto isn't necessarily the be all and end all of their tennis season.
The ladies, we could see a repeat. Canadian woman.
Yep.
You can see that. Look out. It'll be interesting. Whatever happens, she'll be awesome. Let's go to the hockey, and we'll start with the Habs. Lane Hudson is in the middle of having extension talks. I heard conversations that he's the most talented player since Guy Lafleur, said Serge Savard. My goodness. Why not wrap a real big albatross around, I apologize, albatross around his head? His neck.
It's almost like they're trying to tie a millstone to his bootstraps and just drop him over the side of the boat, man. He did win the Calder, but a lot of what's going on in the NHL these days is limiting costs and keeping everything affordable. And, overinflating expectations is a good way to try to pop the bubble on that. Now, it doesn't look like he's going to be going anywhere, but sources indicate that both parties are in a pretty good place right about now, and they feel confident the deal will eventually get done. He netted 6 goals and 66 points, all playing a defensive game and on routes and winning the Calder. He also helped to guide the Canadiens to their first Stanley Cup appearance since 2021 when they fell to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the final. Montreal should feel really good about this young guy. With Huston leading the core, you've also got Noah Dobson on the right, Caden Guile, Jaden Struble, and Mike Matheson. They're all still around too. They're saying at this point, 7 years, $56 million. Now, regardless of where the AAV lands, he's a cornerstone piece at this point.
That's
So
not a bad amount of money for
No.
what I consider. He's a candidate to be the best defenseman in the league.
Oh, for sure.
That's a really good contract, actually. And where he fits into the program, he is their power play guy. He is their number one defenseman. He's not a 1 or a 1A. He's a 1, period. Full stop.
He was also picked 62nd overall in the 2022 draft. So, he's a homegrown player. He's one of their own prospects. He's one of their own picks.
Leafs could have drafted him.
Yeah, well, apparently we had other priorities at the time.
No comment. Canadiens defender has become a key piece. So now we're talking about a different defender, I would think.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I have this issue with my system every once in a while where it duplicates. Unfortunately, it duplicates headlines. Give me just a second here to find it.
I got it here. I can help you out. So, they're talking about Lane Hudson here as well. So this is basically, or are they talking about Marco D'Amico? Nope, that's
actually. I think they're talking about Marco D'Amico. Yeah, there it is. But yeah, so back in December, the Habs had traded Justin Barron to the Nashville Predators in exchange for Alexandre Carrier. With this move, the Canadiens get their blue line a bit of a makeover. After 1 goal, 6 assists, and a -14 rating in 28 games with the Preds, Carrier bounced back with the Habs in 51 games following the trade. He had 2 goals, 16 assists, 18 points, 120 blocks, and a +4 ratings. With numbers like these, he became one of the more solid defenders of the Canadiens' defensive group. Overall, the decision to acquire Carrier was certainly a good one for the Habs, and he should now build off his 24-25 season with Montreal from here. It's, I think, relatively obvious, hindsight and all that, that the move was definitely good for him. And with the addition of Dobson and getting a forward Zach Bolduc, this is something that works out very, very well for them.
Yes, very good. Plan B, Sens signed a 3-year deal with the AHL's Belleville to keep Belleville as their AHL franchise, Aaron.
Yeah, so the Belleville Senators have a lease extension to at least the end of the 2029-2030 season. Since Andlauer owns both versions of the Senators, the extension also applies to the AHL affiliation between the clubs. This also includes a 5-year option that could extend the AHL club's stay through the 2034-2035 season. This means that instead of having to ship their prospects out elsewhere, in a system akin to what the Maple Leafs have going on, they're just a short hop away. Now, it's great news for hockey fans around the Bay of Quinte, just because the connection between the city of Belleville and the Senators is truly a mutually beneficial one at this point. They're committed to seeing hockey thrive in the 613 market. The city of Belleville is, of course, ecstatic that they're going to be back. They're proud to be able to continue to host them at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. They've been there since 2017, so it's a big bonus. And it helps reestablish a rivalry and keep the rivalry between Toronto and Ottawa going, even amongst the AHL teams.
Absolutely. Let's talk about a captain with Calgary that's at a crossroads, and we're talking about Backlund.
Yeah, with 1,066 games played, he's only behind Jerome McGinley on the franchise's all-time list. He's 153 games shy, roughly 2 seasons, which means he'll need another contract after this year to take the top spot when it comes to games played. He had 32 points in 76 games last season with a +4 rating. He finished at 48.4. And that's not necessarily to say it's a bad thing. He was right behind Claude Giroux, Vincent Trocheck, Anze Kopitar, Sidney Crosby, and Morgan Frost when it came to top draw men. League-wide, the average team captain produced 57 points last year, putting Backlund's offensive numbers below the positional and leadership norms. But his value to the Flames isn't measured solely on the score sheet. He's been a member of the Flames for all 17 of his NHL seasons. He's deeply embedded in the community. When Craig Conroy named him the captain in 2023, it was really sort of an acknowledgement that he's actually been their de facto captain for quite a while now. The Flames now are in a rather interesting position. Do they offer Backlund a 1 or 2 year extension to chase Iginla's record, or turn the page and hand the seat to a new leader? Is franchise history worth the investment, or is it time for the next chapter in Calgary? That's one of the major questions that they find themselves facing at this point.
Another Flame Nazem Kadri and the HTA aim to inspire Toronto youth through hockey.
So while Nazem is plying his trade in Calgary right now, Nazem has actually been working with the Hockey Diversity Alliance for quite a few years now. The progress that they've made both on the ice and in the faces of those given a chance to try sports once far from their reach is pretty huge. They provide coaching, they provide ice time. They actually had the HDA Summerfest for marginalized youth and their families at Canoe Landing Park in downtown Toronto. About 50 of the players that have gone through these Summerfest and HDA programs have actually gone on to play in AAA and the GTHL. This Saturday, he's going to be joining Wayne Simmons, Anthony Duclair, Matt Dumba, Akeem Aliyu, Chris Stewart, and Joel Ward, as well as Colin Kaepernick and Marshawn Lynch for the event. It's a kids, families, and road hockey tournament that's going down this weekend. So it gives underprivileged youth and people who wouldn't normally have a chance to play hockey the opportunity to do so.
Absolutely. The Oilers are looking at 3 potential PTO options. Discounted players in their lineup.
Yeah, some of these that I've heard are rather interesting. Amongst the groups that they're thinking of tendering PTO offers to, there's a group of goalies. Stop me if any of these names sound familiar. Alexander Georgiev.
Stop! No, just kidding. Go ahead.
Ilya Samsonov, James Reimer, and Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, we all know Fleury has retired, but he could potentially be a late season add. It's unlikely that he'll sign if he's going to be playing third string, or even if he's going to potentially be a 1B. But right now, with the Oilers, with Skinner and Pickard, need something else back there. They can't just ride those two guys. They're unfortunately just a little too streaky. The other people that are potentially up for a PTO amongst forwards are Robbie Fabry, Jack Roslovic, who is also rumored to be coming to the Leafs. We spoke about that on Wednesday, as well as Luke Cunnin. Now, the Oilers are likely set for centers because they've got McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Henrique, and Curtis Lazar. Those are all options up the middle. They've got Brock McGinn and Thomas Tatar, who are also on the radar. And Max Pacioretty has also been linked by Edmonton Journal columnists to the Oilers already this summer. So, these players combine versatility, NHL experience, and scoring ability, which means they're attractive options for clubs seeking low-risk additions ahead of the season. The most likely option for the Oilers for a PTO, however, is probably going to be Klim Kostin. Now, Kostin could be returning some. He struggled offensively with the Detroit Red Wings and San Jose Sharks, but the fact that he's 6'4", with past success on the Oilers roster, it means he's more than likely to sign a league minimum deal as well as provide help for them in Bakersfield.
Well, all those players are going to be close to league minimum, so that's something to consider.
Yep.
Oliver Rodrigue signs with the KHL's Barry's Astana.
So he's one of their goalies from Bakersfield, their AHL affiliate. He signed a 1-year deal in the KHL with Boris Astana, as you mentioned, a little earlier this week. He was a 2018 second-round pick of the Oilers and split his time between them and the Condors. In 2 games with the Oilers, he went 0-1-0 while posting a 3.1 goals against and an .862 save percentage. With Bakersfield, Rodrigue got into 41 regular season games, went 18-6-8 with a 3.12 GAA and an .897 save percentage. Now, not the best numbers, admittedly. But, the way that the NHL is changing, the way that things are evolving, I don't think he was necessarily going to get the ice time that he needed in order to improve. So going to the KHL at this point is probably the better thing to do for him at this point. With Skinner and Pickard still holding down the Oilers crease, it would have been very tough for Rodrigue to crack the roster. But if he does play well in 25-26 overseas, there is the very real possibility that he could get another NHL look next summer.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle Dubas, looking back to his Leaf experience, admitted that he made a few mistakes, but one in particular. What was his biggest one, Aaron, that he said?
Well, he said, and this was on the Cam and Strick podcast, he said his biggest disappointment at the helm of the Leafs was the Mason Marchment trade. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card. I'll be honest with you, Mason didn't look like he was going to be able to fit in with the Leafs. He drew a lot of unnecessary penalties due to his style of play with the Marlies.
He wasn't a small forward.
No, he was a big guy. So obviously he didn't necessarily fit. But the way that everything's worked out for him in Dallas, is one of those things, I personally would have expected him to name the William Nylander holdout situation. But no, obviously that wasn't it. So
I would go. Did the Leafs trade what's his name that played for Florida? They traded him to Tampa, but I guess that was before Dubas was in charge.
Yeah, it was just before. Now, so here's the thing: when they sent Marchment off, they got Dennis Malgin, who never became any
small
major
forward. They had a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, and now Marchment is now with the Kraken, and he's gone on to become a consistently reliable offensive threat. He's got 76 goals and 113 assists in 302 games so far in his NHL career. That's very respectable. It's one of those things where you kind of wish that they'd been able to retain him, but again, given the GM's proclivities and preferences, it's not really surprising that he didn't actually stick around.
So the Maple Leafs are linked to a 70-point producer, Richard Raquel.
Yeah. So again, more trade rumors, and it's one of those things where he could potentially fit in here. Again, that whole Mitch Marner hole. Raquel is the player that they're looking at. He's 32 years old. He had 35 goals and assists last season for a total of 70 points. He'd be a nice option to play in the top 6. At the moment, however, it's unclear if he did join the Leafs, who the line mates would be for Austin Matthews. William Nylander could be an option, though they'd likely try to spread out their talent and have Willie play with Tavares. Matthew Nyes is another solid piece, having been recently extended. He could be primed to take another step forward this season. But after that, things get really, really murky because you've got players like Domi, Matthias Michelli, and Bobby McMahon being the next best tools available. If you were to add Raquel to the fold, as it currently stands, he's in year 4 of 6 of a contract that's taking him through to 2027, 2028 at $5 million a year. It would give him a clear line mate to consistently play with Austin Matthews. The Penguins are shopping him as they kind of need to embrace their need to retool. It's interesting that Dubas again finds himself in a situation where he's on a rebuilding team, But I guess that's just the way his luck seems to go. But I'll be interested to see if they do actually get a trade done, and what's going to be coming back the other way. That's really the interesting part of it.
They're hoping first overall is what they're hoping.
Oh, almost guaranteed that's what they're hoping for. But when you look at the situation,
it's a good year to go to sleep.
Yeah, no, it genuinely is. I mean, we've only got $1.9 million sitting around here on the cap, and depending on who we can actually move,
they got
and
two
again,
guys. They can move them, then it'd be a plan. But unless they can move the two of them, and I don't know what team's going to take them for that money.
Yeah, and you just avoided arbitration by slapping somebody with a $1.825 million deal. It's only for a year, and then they're an RFA. So I don't know how you work it from here.
Well, former GM and consultant with the Leafs right now, trader Cliff Fletcher. He is 90 years old. My goodness, or 90 years young.
And you really gotta thank Cliff, man, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Gilmore. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Matt Sundin. Lanny McDonald was another one. Lanny was brought to Calgary in '81, the second season after the club moved from Atlanta, and that was a deal that enabled Fletcher to begin reshaping the transferred franchise. His birthday's on Saturday. He's going to be celebrating it in Laguna Beach, California. He's been in the NHL now for, forget this, 70 years. He started with the Habs in 1955. That is an absolutely astounding record. That is just nuts. Now, he is currently on the payroll of the Maple Leafs in the role of senior advisor, although even Fletch will be the first to tell you that that's not much of a role anymore. What with his difficulties walking and his difficulties hearing, he still doesn't have any problem watching or talking hockey. So, he's still valuable in that regard. But yeah, it's really, really great to see that he's still alive and kicking.
Very good. Well, Aaron, that's a nice bit of news.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Cliff. And don't forget, we've got a full slate of CFL games. Well, 3 games are left this weekend.
Yeah.
Tonight, we get to watch the Argos play Edmonton. The Argos need to win. Last night's loss by Ottawa could help Toronto to undo the damage they did last week. Unfortunately, with the victory, Ottawa has a tiebreaker advantage over the Argos at this point. But a win today could make up for the loss last week, and they'll pull themselves back up to tied with Ottawa. So we've got a lot of interesting games. You've got Saskatchewan. That Saskatchewan game is going to be really interesting.
Well, I mean, I was interested to see what they thought the 3 keys of victory for Toronto were going to be. I mean, obviously, score more points than the other team, find your running game, and don't get any more injuries. Those are the 3 major ones. But Toronto really needs to start this game faster than they have in the past.
They've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Running game. They need special teams that doesn't cost them a game, and they need a defense to play the best they have, and just get. As I say every week, the incremental improvement of the offense needs to continue. It doesn't have to be a lot; it just can be a little bit. But the rest has to happen. And by the coach's definition, the guys that talk a great game in the locker room need to bring it out onto the field. This talk is cheap.
Now, there's no way that you can deny that the pass game for the Argos goes directly through DeMonte Coxey. He leads the league with 10 30-plus yard receptions. The unfortunate thing is he's a game-time decision today. Yeah. So Dejan Brissett and Jake Herslow have hauled in a combined 173 yards in a losing effort last week. Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to continue that this week.
Well, right? It depends. Edmonton, what's the defense like? Well, their defensive line, if they play to their salary, they could give the Argo offense a bit of difficulty and make the quarterback's life a little difficult. And that essentially is how Edmonton's going to win. If they're going to win, they're going to do it with their defense. And they've got a pretty good quarterback in Fajardo, who was sitting on the sidelines. This has been a season of backup quarterbacks getting the controls often, early and often. And we saw former Argo picked up by the Montreal Alouettes. So we'll see. So the former Argo quarterback, MBT, got hurt. So then they brought in another ex-Argo to pick up where he left off. So it's going to be a great CFL weekend. Everybody enjoy the games. Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Not a problem, Frank. Always happy.
He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching our show, Candid Frank Live Maple Leaf Talk. And, of course, you can follow us and watch on YouTube, Candid Frank Stanishi 1030. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. It's a hot one again.